Ancient Athenaeum Presents The Diamond Maker by H.G. Wells. A deep investigative study. The Diamond Maker is one of H.G. Wells's earliest scientific fantasies, written at a moment when chemistry and physics were beginning to promise mastery over matter itself. First published in 1894, the story belongs to the brief but explosive period in which Wells explored the social consequences of scientific possibility, before refining those ideas into larger works. Here, the miracle is not temporal travel or alien invasion, but something far more intimate and destabilizing: the artificial creation of wealth. At the center of the story is a nameless scientist, deliberately stripped of personal identity, whose obsession with crystallization leads him to a breakthrough that alchemists had dreamed of for centuries. He succeeds in creating diamonds, not through trickery or fraud, but through genuine scientific process. Wells is careful to emphasize this point. The discovery is real, the method is sound. And yet, from the moment success is achieved, disaster is inevitable. Wells situates the story in a modest domestic setting, reinforcing the contrast between world-altering knowledge and the ordinary lives that contain it. The scientist's laboratory is improvised, cramped, and precarious. His research is pursued not under institutional protection, but in isolation, an early Wellsian warning about innovation divorced from social responsibility. When the diamonds appear, they are not celebrated, they are feared. Wells understands that value is not inherent in objects, but in systems of belief. Diamonds derive their worth from rarity, secrecy, and control. By making them common, or worse, reproducible, the scientist destabilizes the economic fiction that sustains them. This realization comes not from the scientist himself, but from the world pressing inward. Suspicion arises. Authorities loom. The promise of wealth attracts danger. Wells presents society as reflexively hostile to disruptions of established value structures. The scientist's response is telling. Rather than share his discovery, regulate it, or contextualize it, he hoards it. Fear replaces curiosity. Secrecy replaces ambition. Knowledge, once pursued for understanding, becomes a liability. The diamonds themselves become symbolic burdens. They cannot be sold without raising questions. They cannot be displayed without inviting violence. They trap the scientist in a prison of his own making. In a cruel irony, the very substance that should grant freedom instead enforces confinement. Wells's critique extends beyond economics into psychology. The scientist's isolation deepens. Paranoia grows. The scientific mind, trained to master materials, proves ill-equipped to navigate human consequence. Wells suggests that discovery without foresight is a form of blindness. The story's climax is not explosive, but suffocating. The scientist's collapse is quiet, almost anticlimactic. His creation outlives him, but not as revolution. The knowledge is lost. The diamonds vanish. The world remains unchanged. This ending reflects Wells's recurring pessimism about individual breakthroughs. Without structures to support ethical distribution, innovation either destroys its creator or disappears entirely. Stylistically, the Diamond Maker is restrained and compressed. Wells wastes no space on spectacle. the tension arises from implication rather than action. Each step forward in scientific success tightens the net around the protagonist. At a deeper level, the story anticipates Wells's later skepticism about capitalism's ability to absorb technological change. Wealth, when detached from labor and scarcity, becomes dangerous, not liberating. The story asks a question Wells would return to repeatedly. What happens when science outruns the systems meant to contain it? In The Diamond Maker, the answer is bleak. Knowledge is possible, transformation is possible, but without collective understanding, progress remains unlivable.